Hello, hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Well and truly.
Tell me more.
No, nothing really. Just seemed like an appropriate thing to say.
Goodbye.
So what's happening? Anything exciting?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, anything that happens turns out to be exciting. I told you on Sunday on Wednesday when we chatted that on Friday I had to have a meeting with.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I had a meeting with Deval and also with a new full-time employee here in Eastern Australia, Mark Bevan. He's an engineer and he's been brought on full-time to be the first full-time person in Australia come New Zealand. And he is, I'm not here. They haven't actually defined his role. They've just alluded to various things and against his name during conversation. So, but he's going to drive attendantship. So now he's going to be visiting everywhere where there's senior people, I guess, on the East Coast, and get company sponsorship and stuff like that. That's I would imagine that's his task. And so, but he's right from word go. The first day he arrived, I sent him a message saying welcome and all the rest of it. And he, within 5 minutes, sent back saying, thanks very much appreciated. I'd like to join one of your classes. Immediately, I sent him back a link for my business one, the business ideas one. And that was the next day, that one. And there he was. The next day, he was in my class. And so I dropped some heavy hints and about the future and building this particular concept of class out, like you and I have spoken about. And anyway, he went through the whole class, and then he sent me back a message on Slack, which is the main communication channel for Get Set Up people. Okay, and he said, "Wow, fantastic class! I really enjoyed it. Made me rethink, why I'm here or what I'm doing."
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay. So that was great, and so that was on the third or Friday morning, I think it was. Anyway, but it was before we had the meeting, and then we had the meeting, and the meeting went well. I won't go into the detail, but the bottom line was, they had some ideas that they felt that I should be taking forward. Okay. And the first idea on top of their list is the business one, but not in the context of business. Okay. So business is too frightening for people, 60, 70, 80 years old. They're looking more for some sort of activity or some sort of work or some sort of it might boil down to a business, but a business frightens them, okay, because of the historical interpretation of business plans and things like that. So tell me what you've got in mind, okay? And they didn't share something. I took some notes and she took some notes, and then I shared them, and I've created just a one-page document because what we did was she felt that we needed to go through a much softer approach, and we need to have 5 classes, okay? And the 5th class being one where we discuss people's ideas, where they are, any questions they've got, almost like a coffee type meeting, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody has questions. I then need to have some sort of an agenda to help them, maybe boost what they're doing. So I need to prepare a meeting. So then one, they just wanted me to sort of soften it, and rather than come out with like a mission statement or a grand purpose or that like that. They liked the word purpose, okay? They said, I must keep that, okay? People must come out with a purpose. That must be the foundation. So basically, it stays as one. Let me just share you the one-page document, because then we discussed what the title or what we should cover broadly in each class. And here, yeah, that looks like the one. Very difficult to see. Okay. Can you see what's on my page?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. So I changed the title of the course to Work with Your Purpose in Life. Now, I changed the word business to work. Okay. And then the first class I changed to Discover Your Purpose. Okay. And that's my suggested agenda, which I sent off to her today. And I won't expect to hear back from her, actually. If I do, it'll be a few days. Because I guess she is so incredibly busy. And so that person is basically the same. In fact, it is exactly the same. I've just changed a couple of approaches and one or two words on slides, sort of avoided anything there. But you can see from, how to find ideas with purpose, that changed something. What were you naturally born to do? Why start to work again? What am I going to do? The question why is essential. And then before taking your first step, okay, things that the last slide, remember that I had there of them making a sample and doing things like that. So that remains much the same, but from then on, very different, okay. So they both agreed. I say they, right now, I'm referring to Mark and Deval, so I don't have to.
Yep.
They were the joint opinion that we must stay away from sort of anything that's going to make people scared of, oh, this is like a business and, I'm going to get a bank manager involved and those sort of things. They don't want, they want it to be much softer than that. So they said, once you've got an idea, and which is now your purpose, and you work and you know why, you now move from idea to getting started. So that's the title of the class. It makes sense to me, okay? And then between us, we came up with 3 of these, and I came up with the other 2. But how to start achieving your purpose, who will benefit from your idea, how to research channels of communication, how to take your first step, how to tell people about your idea. Okay. So that's what I've been working on today, and right up till 5 minutes ago, when my clock told me that you were going to be online soon. So, but I've done quite a bit of thinking about this lot and making a few notes. But anyway, let's just go through the overview. The third class, then, once you now got everything in place, almost like planning, I suppose you'd say. I think this was very much, we had the second class as planning. So, but again, it is planning, but it's just what you see there, okay? Just those particular aspects. The third class is now, developing channels of communication. That was my suggestion, and they were very enthusiastic about that, as opposed to the word like marketing or marketing strategy or anything like that. And you also came up with that yourself at our last meeting. So there, this agenda is going to be how to get the word out there and tell people about your idea, engage in the community through social media, and and so on, platforms for, because people will communicate differently their particular product or service. Okay?
Mm.
And then also platform for if people are going to make something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth one is maintaining momentum. They felt that all these old folks are going to lose momentum, even though they're working on their purpose and so on. And so we threw that around for quite a long time. So I eventually come up with evaluate the how on your journey to realizing your purpose. So if something is not working, the how is not working, you can change the how. Okay. But it's always going back to your purpose. So, that's probably what I'll emphasize, or maybe take interaction is about, what is it that's causing them, to become deflated, perhaps. And, realizing back, I told you I was going to reflect back on Wednesday, so I'm going to reflect back to the purpose, reflect back to the why. So in this class, we do it quite aggressively, okay? So create a schedule that helps you go back to the drawing board. That was one of their things. I'm not quite sure what they meant by that, okay? So I'd have to still think about that one. I don't know if anything comes to your mind straight away, but
create a schedule that helps you go back to the drawing board.
Say again?
No, I was just reading the line.
Oh, yeah. And how to motivate yourself to keep working. That's fine. Practical tips and tricks to boost your idea. Okay. And then they seem to be quite adamant, and I think they're right. Thinking about it, is you quote real live stories of successes of people they know, or people in the same sort of environment that they are in, and so that would help. Is telling stories, true stories, authentic stories. Okay. Because so many things started from a garage,
Exactly. Or a kitchen table.
A kitchen table, that's right. Or on a serviette, a paper serviette. Yeah. So, and then class 5, we've got no idea at this stage. We just said, let us get together and discuss. And possibly they bring their ideas, bring their questions, and we'll go through various questions. But I will also have something in the back if people don't come. So that's what it's. So that made me very excited. Okay, because first of all, it's 5 lessons, 5 classes. And everything is okay with me. There's nothing. I understand where they're coming from, and I was working from where I was coming from originally when you and I were talking, or where we were coming from, and I absolutely this is much more simple, and I wouldn't say watered down, but I can't think of another word or two. But it's simple is probably the right word.
I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah. You see, then I as I said to you a moment ago, that I was working on class 2 this afternoon, and just about half an hour before you came on board, I, one of the biggest issues is there are so many different platforms and social media apps, and that and they all can be used for marketing. So I thought, which one do I want to use? Okay, let me just go back to that. Okay, and I sat back, closed my eyes, and it was just like, there was no hesitation, and that was, it needed to be Instagram. Okay, and I Googled in a number of different sites the top social media apps for marketing, and Instagram was always in the top 4. And sometimes it was number 1, but inevitably Facebook was number 1. Okay, and And then, now then when I thought again, and Instagram, Facebook bought Instagram. It's integrated a lot of Facebook technology into Instagram and Instagram into Facebook as well. But I thought, if I'm going to do one, let's call it advanced class in one of the social media, because I can't do it in this class. I can't do it in this environment of the 5 classes. I then need to take one class or maybe 2, okay, and say, right, I suggest you either do, let's say, Instagram or Facebook, or Instagram and Twitter, and then come to my advanced class, to come to my introductory class, and then come to my advanced class if you want to get started. So then I would have some sort of continuity. Then I'll keep those to myself. I've already told her in the meeting, the 4 that I'd like to get rid of, because they're all intro this, that, and the other thing, including intro Zoom, and I don't want to have those anymore. Intro to.
What did she say about that?
She said absolutely fine. She said I was going to suggest it anyway. She said to me, you need to get on something more, more advanced than those intro courses.
Yeah.
And so she.
Yeah, well, you've proven yourself. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's while I'm excited, I think that's really interesting what has come out of that meeting. Then were other ideas. She said, if I can just work on this, like I've got 1 week to come up with this entire class. She'd like to start it, in May. Okay, this whole series. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. I think she alluded to like having 1 a day for 5 days. Okay. Now I don't really want that, because I think people need a little bit more time. Maybe 2 a week or something like that. 1 at the beginning of the week, 1 at the end of the week, or somewhere like that.
Well, I'd probably be suggesting to her that you run class 1 maybe 2 or 3 times in a week, and then the following week run class 2 2 or 3 times, and then on like that.
That's also a good idea. Yeah. The only problem with these is that there are always new people coming on. I mean, the numbers now that are looking at the website and starting to attend classes around the world, they're growing fast. Okay.
But that's why I think it's important, though, that you enable people to get on board with the course, because there's no point people coming in at class 2 because they won't have a clue what it's about.
That's the point. So do you always have class 1 every week?
I think you do.
Yeah. Then you always
you have it offered every week, whether or not you get the enrollments or not. That's a different matter, but I think it should be offered every week.
Yeah. So then we're back to class 1 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday, 4 on Thursday, and then class 5 on Friday. Okay. So
after 5 weeks, yes.
Yeah. Now, if that's going to happen every week, which is fine, because I do have 3 classes a day. Okay. So I can have 2 other classes and can have those running through, and then so people who did class 1 this week and can't do class 2 tomorrow can do it the following week, class 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Or do their homework and
So because you're basically asking people to sign up for 5 lessons.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. So then.
And do you think the title is accurate? Like, is it?
I want some feedback, because I sent the title through to Deval and to Mark, and I said, give me some feedback. Okay, this is the title I've come up for the series, and they haven't come back to me. I'm excited about the title. I must tell you, I think it is right. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I just wonder if it might be a little bit broad. I don't know.
You see,
You know, maybe you need a subtitle in there. You know, like how to screw a few bucks out of people before you die, or something like that. You know.
yeah. Come on, give me some suggestions. Don't worry about a subheading necessarily. Let's look at the heading.
No, I agree.
Now, before it had the word business idea in it. Okay. Unique business, your unique business idea. Discover your unique business idea. Okay. And they didn't like the idea of business. They had no problem with idea and purpose, but they didn't want business in it. They said it'll frighten people away, particularly people who've never been in business. And they've done surveys apparently that the percentage of people who have had their own businesses in their career very small. Okay, and yet a lot of people wanting to find something to do now in the latter years of their life. So
don't know. I just need to think about it for a bit.
Yeah. Okay. You'll have an eye. So yeah, then they came up with other ideas for me for classes. Okay, for the future, not for May, but into the future. One was exploring the oceans of the world with Google, and exploring the planet with Google Earth.
Yeah, they're good.
Both of which I would enjoy doing. Now you could really come up with some really interesting take on that and so on. You know, almost in a story format. You know, it's a lot. So yeah, they like my microgreens, so they really want me to keep the microgreens. That's really the only one that they really said that they would really like me to keep, including the business one, but modified. Okay. And then what were the other suggestions? Were those? Oh yeah, they said teach people to write newsletters to their children and friends. I mean, I said not on. Okay. I said no. That's we're back to the basic introductory type things, and so I said no. That wasn't. And then it was it. Oh, the other one was would what's the word they used? I wonder if I still got it attached to this. Let me just look. Might be. I moved it. Pretty. Okay, let me just see. I know where I would have moved it to. I think so. No, I'm not sure what I did with it, but there was.
Is there any limitation on how brief or otherwise that title should be?
Yeah, it should be pretty brief. Okay, it should be roughly the amount of words that there are now, maybe another 2 or so. Okay.
So what was there now? Show me again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. Yeah. So it could be 8 words, but they like it to be as short as possible. A lot of their titles are 2 words or 3 words.
What about something like finding and implementing a renewed purpose?
Finding
and implementing a renewed purpose. I did put in your life, but maybe that's too long. I don't know. But because the reason I say that, just in terms of my thinking behind it, lots of people would have seen their purpose, depending on what they did, so some people might have seen their purpose, is to to raise my children and ensure their security or something like that. Or my purpose was,
Just give it to me again. Give it to me again what you were saying so I can type it in there.
Finding and implementing a renewed purpose in life. Because I think it is a renewed purpose. I don't know that it's your purpose, because I think at the sunset years of their lives,
yeah, I
a renewed purpose, renewed, RENEWED. Because I think that they've, at this stage of their life, they've had a fairly clear purpose, but maybe that purpose has been fulfilled or achieved. But I think this is like giving them like a second wind, you know, a second direction.
I like that. I like that a lot, and I, especially with your reasoning that yeah, they probably have their purpose. They say, "Oh, I know my purpose," but a reason.
You know, I was a stay-at-home mum or dad or whatever, and I've done that, and the kids are off their hands now, so that's all done.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it's like,
yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Whether it's too long or not, I'm not sure. You know,
I don't think so. What's it? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, if you're going to drop any words out, maybe it's and implementing. Maybe it's just finding a renewed purpose in life. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think implementing is important. It's like
it's important.
It's
important.
Yeah. So.
And is there like a little paragraph which describes the course afterwards?
Yes.
Or?
Yes. I've written my first draft on that. Let me find that, because that was quite interesting. Let me just see. I haven't got it. Work with purpose. Hang on. I know where that would be, because I have to write one for each. Let's just go to see where we are. Yeah, we are. Discover your purpose summary. Do you want to read it for yourself when it comes up, or do you want me to read it?
No, either way, it doesn't matter.
Okay, and I've created an image. You know, you got to suggest an image. They don't always use it. Okay, but anyway, let's just go to. I want to go, actually. I want to view on one page. Okay, otherwise we're going to. Okay. Here we are. So I call it a commentary. I actually don't know what the company calls it.
I can't see it yet.
Sorry?
You can't see it yet.
Oh, can't you? I'm sharing it.
So I'm still on the other document.
Oh, that's probably why. Because I'm still sharing the other document. Yeah. Okay, so what did I call it? Here we are. Yeah. I do that in class too, you know, exactly what I've done now. And I'm carrying on talking, but they say, what are you talking about? We can't see this on the screen. All right, let me read it to you. The purpose of life is a life with purpose. Everybody has a purpose in later life. Everybody exists for a reason. And we are all meant to contribute to the world in our unique way. Your purpose is why you exist on this world. Once you rediscover your own purpose, once you rediscover your own personal why, your life will become more meaningful and fulfilling because you understand your reason for being. There are various avenues, in brackets, hows, to fulfill your purpose. This class will both help you find an idea and clarify your purpose.
No, that's good.
But if we change the title to what you suggest, which I'm inclined to do, then I must bring that word in again that you've used. But that'll be quite easy there.
No, I think that's really. I think that'll be a really, really popular series of classes for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Quite unique because I don't think anyone else is doing it, are they?
No, unique and get set up by far. Okay. There's one person in America doing some business classes, and I went and had a look, but they were like, I was very disappointed. They put it that way. It wasn't something like this, you know. It was, he just does business classes. So, you know, business with LinkedIn or something like that would be one title. Okay. And
yeah, no, this is much
yeah,
much more meaningful.
It's a whole different category of it's not a business category at all. I think it's more.
But I definitely see it as more of a rediscovery rather than a discovery. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I liked it when you said it straight away. So I just want to call that up again, but finding and implementing a renewed purpose in life.
I
Yeah,
think that'll be good.
That honors the person. You know, we understand you had a purpose in life. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, so yeah. Whereas mine is a bit harsh when I look at yours. Okay. And you rightly say that you're so spot on when you say, you know, I've had my purpose. Okay. And you know, I was a nurse and I've nursed all my life, and I wanted to nurse, always wanted to nurse, and you know, and now I want to do something else. And, what do I do? You know, so yeah, very good, very good. Okay, well, let me take up the time with all this because.
No, it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Do you you know, yeah,
sorry.
No,
After you. No, I was just going to ask you how your English class went.
Oh, okay. It went well. We had a few more people than normal. I can't recall. We're in double figures, but I can't remember quite what it was now.
Okay, well that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And did they all present?
Most of them, not all of them. There was one totally new for the first time, and she also chatted, you know, about it. So they all had a few words in their own way, but you know, of Nikolai.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. He couldn't stop. Okay. He had done a PowerPoint presentation, and I never counted his slides, but there must have been more than 30. Okay.
Holy catfish.
But he had copied and pasted. He had gone to like the United Nations and copied the human rights list, you know, all those human rights, and he pasted it. And I mean, you couldn't read it because the copy was too small. Then he went to animal rights, and he copied that and he put it on. And then he said something about the two, but he just didn't stop. And it was all he defined human rights or something from Wikipedia. And he copied and pasted their whole definition on there. And he couldn't pronounce just about all the words that he pasted.
So his definition of freedom related to rights, is that essentially what he was saying?
Well, he did go in another direction towards the end as well. So, but fundamentally, yes, I'd say half the slides were about rights. Okay, and he. Because he was reading everything, you know, he was then reading English, okay, and his pronunciation, every second word was totally wrong, but Ilana had corrected where it was, I think, important to correct. So she knew, I suppose, being a teacher, what to leave alone and what to correct. And
yeah.
But yeah.
Did she have much to say?
Yeah, she had hers. She had prepared a presentation as well, and there were some people who were very personal, and one was, I think it was the new person. Okay, and also Ilana in her own way alluded to the same thing, but this new person said something. I live 1 hour from my mother, okay, and I'm in the Ukraine, okay, and now I have to cross 3 borders, which I never had to do before, and it now takes me, I don't know how many, it was 6 hours or something to get to her mother, okay. And each border is guarded by military that have arrived from different sides, and the Ukraine military and the Russian military, and I think the Europeans or America, I think it might have also been. So she said that's not freedom, you know. So she spoke about that from her heart, and
good on her.
So it was great, and she had a better control of the English language than most. Also stuttered a hell of a lot and got things wrong, but at least you could follow her, you know. So that was that. And Ilana alluded also to, everybody interfering in everybody's life and so on, political life, and making it. But yeah, so it was on their mind, I think, just from those 2 people, that, you know, there's political unrest, okay, which we see in the news, and we don't, in the news now, I don't get the 2 mixed up. In the news, one's not quite sure what's going to happen, because it seems to be that all it needs is one person to drop a bomb or bring down another plane, as they did historically, and of course Biden is looking for an opportunity today. But fortunately, the military in America are not listening to anything that Biden says or instructs. Okay.
Yeah.
So which that tells me that it's not long before the military have got to intervene. If they're not taking orders from their president, then they've got to have some plan to intervene, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, it went well. It was good. I must just tell you why we're talking about it. Next Saturday we won't. Well, no, that's not right. I said to them, I won't be there next Saturday because we're going to a play that one of my kids has sponsored, and so. But as we stand today, hopefully today's the last day, but we're under lockdown. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, two people have got coronavirus in the same hotel. I mean, geez, and we're locked down. Anyway, it's
get used to it. I think that's the way we're going to live. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I can understand if there were 1,000, you know, and they were spread all over the place. But 2 people in one hotel, I mean, I ask you with tears in my eyes. Anyway, it is what it is. Yeah. So anyway, next Saturday, I won't be there. I said they can go ahead if they want to, and have a meeting. And they asked whether you would be there. I said, I have no idea. I can't speak for you, but I would find out, you know, if you and Ilana would perhaps want to run it. And so I said, you know, I'd come back to them probably later tonight or tomorrow to say yes or no, whether you'd like to commit to that, or if you don't, they're still going to talk about themselves on their Wednesday class, whether then they just go ahead without you or me. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And if they do go ahead, will they be talking about the third?
Yeah, the third foundation. Yeah.
And what is that?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't looked at that. I'm actually doing one presentation, and just as the next foundation stone comes in, I'm using the same presentation, you know, the next slide. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got the 8 eventually in one presentation. And so, but I haven't gone, each time I go, I first copy and paste from the website, the Elytra website. And so that's the starting first slide, is the actual wording. And then I break it down from there. And
I think they need to be congratulated on, you know, having the courage to talk about some of those things too. You know, it mustn't be easy for some of them because it's right there in their face, isn't it? You know, so
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But they all seem to be quite passive. I don't know whether that's you know, the spirituality has brought that out in them, or you know, if they've been involved for a long time, whether they were, I don't know. But whenever
I think the politics of it would be very fatiguing, wouldn't it? You know.
Yeah, yeah, it would be. Okay.
And probably quite hopeless, I would have thought.
Yeah, yeah. That reminds me of Sue and I watched a Hallmark movie yesterday afternoon because she wanted to just take some time off. And what were the name of those people? I'm just going to shout to Sue quickly. Sue, what is the name of that community that we saw on the TV? The community that we saw on that Hallmark TV. Amish. Amish.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to bring this up with you. Now, we both know the Amish, and we know exactly who they are and what they do and how they do it. And do you think they are the creative future? I think they've been.
I don't know. I think there's a finer nuance to it because, and the reason I say that is that I've been listening to an audio book for the last, well, it's probably coming up 2 weeks now, where this American guy interviews a number of people in Japan over a period of time. So he'll go and interview them, and then he'll go back a couple of years later and provide an update. But the interviews are done very much around living simply. So, and it's been very revealing for me also, because just listening to some of these people, they tend to be more creative people. So musicians, artists, those sorts of people. So I'd like to give you an example just to try and put some context around it. There was one guy who played, he was a musician, but his instrument was a bamboo flute. So he was in training under a master for, I'm guessing like 15 years. But he would describe the tuition, like he would go and see this master, and apparently it's an extremely difficult instrument to play in the sense that when it's played properly, it's almost like a haunting sort of, well, the way he described it is a haunting like exhalation, you know. So it's not a flute in the sense of, you know, what you'd traditionally think of one being. So it's actually quite a traditional, perhaps even spiritual type instrument. But he'd sort of say, oh, you know, I'd go and see my master, and he would just say, let's go and have a coffee, or let's go and have a whiskey or a beer.
Yeah.
And he said, but what about the tuition? He says, well, you'll be doing that anyway, you know, like not in front of me, but if you're committed to this, you'll be doing that anyway. So let's just catch up. And he sort of kept on saying to him, you know, like, you know, you just need to be committed to it. Just be committed to it, you know, and it's not about technique. It's about something that comes from within you, you know, and it was really fascinating because a number of them would then talk about like Zen type philosophies, I guess, of living. And each person that is interviewed, this has come up time and time again, is they like he sort of asked them the question about, well, virtually exactly what you just asked. Like, is this going to be the way of the future? You know, back to simple living of the past and that. And each and every one of them would emphatically say, no, 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 no. It's not about going back. It's about understanding the true essence of what the teachings really mean. And you need to immerse yourself. It's not a quick process. You need to get to the core essence. And they use like the art and the musical instrument, and that is almost like an analogy to demonstrate that, you know, that the spiritual path that requires precision, it requires persistence, it requires very much creativity, opening up this creative spirit and how you tap into that. But it's not something that you just do in a short period of time. It's something you've really got to be dedicated to and work hard at, and you know, seek guidance on and just persist.
Yeah.
And so there's really strong messages about that. So my sense of it is that, you know, to answer your question, I think that we will obviously be strongly influenced and impacted by technology. You know, that's a given. That's not going
That's a given.
That's not going to stop or slow down or anything. It's, if anything, probably going to accelerate. But in terms of how we live our lives, that is very much a personal choice. Like, and there's one guy, for example, talked about, he did a pilgrimage or went to India and lived over there for a number of years and came back. And when he came back, he sort of said that his initial goal was to live without money. So not rely on, like, to basically opt out of the financial system, you know. And he did live a very simple life. But then he said, but I found out I couldn't. I just couldn't. This is particularly in Japan, because the culture there is very much about financial success and working hard and careers, and it's all about strong economy, you know, like post-war strong economy and all that sort of stuff. He said, I just couldn't do it. He said, if I lived in India, I could, because people in India, you could go and live in an ashram and never have to spend a rupee ever, you know. But in Japan, you just can't do it. Even if you live in the mountains, you know, in isolation, you just can't do it. He said, but I just accept that. And then I just do what I need to do to live a simple life. And the guy who was interviewing said, so, like, what sort of income would you have? And he says, oh, well, it's a bit hard to sort of say. He says, because sometimes I go and work, you know, I travel and I work in this factory and I might earn, you know, the equivalent of like $5,000. But once I've got that $5,000, I won't need to work again for another 2 years. You know, and so, and he says, so I just do what I need to do. And he says, and when I do the work, I'm doing the work and I give it my all, but then I've got the money that I need so I can go and do what I really want to do. You know, so it was really, and doing what I really want to do was really the creative expression, you know, to live a creatively expressed life.
Right.
And I think that's, in my mind, and I'm still sort of thinking it through, but in my mind, I'm thinking that's what creative society may be. So lots of people talk about the usual shopping list, which in one sense is no different than consumerism, because it's all about the shopping list. But I think there's this nuance around it. And ironically, when you look at the outline of the present of your classes and that, it's kind of that. It's kind of, now that you've done all of the stuff which, you know, you were conditioned to do, you know, like you got married, you had kids, you pursued a career, you did this, you did that, there's your shopping list. It's almost like, so now what do you really want to do? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, and I kind of think that a creative society will help foster an environment where that's possible, where it really is possible, you know.
It's really interesting, and I just get the feeling that that you're right, and so it boils down. The future is going to boil down to a simple life. Okay.
A simple life, but one that is very engaged with our environment,
And
a
our
much
technology.
higher,
Yeah.
and our technology, but
Sure.
a much higher level of awareness. So, you know, like at the moment, you know, large masses of the population will respond to, I don't know, for example, McDonald's advertising, and we've both been victims of it ourselves. Oh, look, we need to grab something to eat. Oh, there's a McDonald's. We'll just go and grab something, and 2 days later, your body is still protesting, you know, for that moment of weakness, you know.
Yes.
But I think that that level of awareness
Hmm.
will be permeated much wider and deeper
Yeah.
than it is at the
If
moment,
you
you
look
know.
at if you look at the Amish, or maybe let's just put that aside for a moment.
Mm,
Let's just look at let's say the average rural African, okay,
mm,
and who the majority are still rural in Africa, but Southern Africa as well, and they have their cell phones and their laptops, and a lot of them still live in mud huts with
mm,
thatched roofs. Okay,
mm.
but the technology covers them. They have access to the technology. They
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely. I mean,
they
years
enjoy
ago,
living that simple life. Okay, where
ye-
they grow their
ye-
own veggies and things like that.
and isn't it almost like a paradox? Because years ago, when I went to Burma, or Myanmar as they call it now, same thing. Thatched huts, dirt floors, da da da, satellite dishes on the roof.
Yes, yes, the same. That's it. Yeah, but
You know,
it works what you're saying. You see, it's a
mm,
simple life in a technology age,
mm.
technological age.
But
Uh,
the fascinating thing about some of the tensions and the pressures in Japan were not only some of the cultural nuances about what success is supposed to
yeah,
look like,
yeah,
but also the cold, hard realities of, for example, dealing with the Fukushima nuclear disaster,
yeah,
you know, and then all of the pressure from the big corporates and even the government to sort of say, oh, well, if we draw a line here, on this side of the line, it's safe, and on that side of the line, it's not safe. And oh, by the way, a lot of our food production happens around just on this side of the line, but it's okay, it'll be safe. And there's lots and lots of people saying, and the Japanese are really passionate about the purity and the quality of their food that they consume and so on, because they realize how important it is that whatever you're putting into your body is, you know,
yeah,
what you become. And they're sort of saying, no, this is just not right. And they too traditionally are very passive, because the Japanese language, it's fascinating. I found it absolutely fascinating. The Japanese language is really quite complex, but a Japanese conversation, um, the totality of the conversation is not only about what is said, but quite often, more importantly, about what is not said.
okay,
So there's lots of things that can be inferred, but not overtly stated. But it's critical in terms of the meaning that's conveyed, you know. So, but these very passive, very, you know, perhaps indirect people
hmm,
are coming out and saying, no, this is not okay. And you would have people and like mothers and that sort of thing coming out and saying, this is too important. It's about our children. It's about our future. You know, it's all of these things. We cannot accept that it's okay just to skirt over this. We really need to come to grips with what's going on here, using the nuclear disaster as the example. And when the interviewer said, so tell me why this is so important. Well, you go into Tokyo, you go into any of those big cities, it's neon lights, it's electricity. And the reason that these power stations exist is there's such a big demand for electricity. And we can't live like that. We can't live like that. It's not sustainable. It's not who we are. It's not, you know, this planet's not for that. You know, we need to turn those neon lights off. We need to reduce our electricity consumption. We need to, and that brings health, and that brings well-being, and that brings, you know, so there's a real acknowledgement that as we talk about consumerism, and as Alatra talks about consumerism, they're dealing with similar issues, different language, you know, different terminology, but exactly the same sort of pressures, you know.
Right.
And for them, you know, there's sort of things like seeing things like, you know, the earthquake, which resulted in the damage to the nuclear plant and everything that's happened as a result of that, as just being like Alatra does, is just saying, no, we can't do this anymore like this. We need to do it differently.
Yeah.
And we need to do it from the inside out, you know, not from the outside in, you know. So it's really quite powerful, you know.
Right.
Well, I found it quite powerful, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. No, it is.
And the other sort of takeaway, so to speak, from my perspective too, is that when they talk about things like Zen and even some Buddhism and other religions, it's not about what the traditional teachings say. It's just about what does these ideas mean for how I'm living my life right now. So it's not about sort of saying, oh, well, the scripture said, or the Buddha said, or the Zen master said. It's not about that at all, because a lot of them will even say, oh, I'm not interested in all of that stuff way back then. I'm interested in my life now, you know. And it really is about, as I interpret in many respects, like Eva Moya, it's about how I'm living this life now and the importance of living it in certain ways and within certain contexts. And why are you wasting energy on whether God exists or doesn't exist? It exists. Now let's just get on with it. You know, just that sort of thing, isn't it? You know, like it's that sort of thing. And you know, so that's a given. So let's just live our life now. So given that, you know, the importance of gratitude and awe and respect and that not only to our brothers and sisters, but also to our Mother Earth and all of those things that which a lot of the indigenous populations have had in their vocabulary since day one. But ironically, at this stage of human development, we're just starting to rediscover some of them. You know? So it's because of the huge separation which has occurred over the last, you know, hundreds of years. Yeah. Well, it's my 5-minute summary anyway, or probably 15-minute summary.
Well, I'd like to ask you, because I think it's probably also a good place to wind up shortly. From everything you said, which I found very interesting, Don, if you had to summarize the various aspects that you said from your podcast that you were listening to through to what you've been talking now about in Japan and so forth, with regards to a creative life future or a simple future or the future distributive or creative, summarize those things as if you were sort of telling me this is your viewpoint in a nutshell about the future.
That's tricky.
let it just flow naturally and come, just whatever.
Well, I guess within the context of our unfolding conversation for a number of years now, it really does come back to putting some texture and focus and granularity around when we say people matter, what does that actually mean? And it doesn't just mean be nice to people or don't kill people or be polite or anything like that. It means much, much more. There's a whole dimension around that of what it actually means to be human, and to be grounded and to be in alignment and in harmony with the divine, you know, for what is happening right now, you know, to us and you know, with us. So what I would say is that being, you know, people matter because, you know, you and I can't be defined by what's happening to us right now.
Right.
And while we're here, you know, and I know you and I think in harmony on this, it really is about discovering what it truly means, you know, for people to matter. And it's a line of inquiry and questioning that we continue to ask ourselves every day, because there's more and more dimensions of it start to reveal itself the more you you dive into that inquiry.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think that's a good place to end on a really good hour of conversation.
It has been. It's been delightful.
Yeah, really enjoyed.
In terms of next Saturday, I think I should be okay, but I'm happy to participate. I don't particularly want to lead it, but
No,
I'm
you
happy
won't
to
lead it. Ilana will lead it. Okay.
Yeah, good.
But to have your support, so you know, and participation and a small presentation, you know.
Yep. And so, will there be a different link? I'm guessing.
Yeah, she'll
to
put
get
out
into it?
her link. Okay. She's
Okay,
got a.
and just through your Skype.
She'll do it through the Michael Alatra chat Skype. That's where she always.
Okay.
Okay. I put it there and she puts it there if she does it. Okay, but she.
Okay.
But I will come back to you and let you know before Saturday whether they want to go on or not. Okay, but I will tell them that you're happy to go on, and they'll be very pleased about that. I must let you know. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Until Wednesday.
Sounds wonderful. Well, you have a good week, won't you?
Yes, I will have a good week. And what about you?
Also.
Great.
Okay then.
Okay.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.